It seems fine, right? Got Casualty of War, Herofall. This guarantees a 4th resource into these Twilight Justice. One's like Octavia. 6 charges, Creative Valor. Reach of Race among Ardent troops you control and put them in your hand. Here's Grass. That's probably a good pickup. Drax with the cheers. My cup runneth over. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do appreciate it. With the resub as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Different kind of bomb today. 15 months, it's a long time for showing up again and again and again. You know, it's possible I didn't think about this when I hit keep, but the fact that my opponent's playing Octavia likely tells me that they're playing a deck full of Ardent troops, which maybe means this Casualty of War is not going to be good, so I'm glad we picked up this Grasp of Winter. I really don't like that deck. I want a 5th resource at this point. I'm gonna stack another resource on top of my deck. Let's be greedy. Probably hit one at some point. Just, you wanna... Modern is a format about doing something objectively powerful and kind of linear. And that green-white deck doesn't do either of those things. Like, ghost courting your opponent out a bunch of times when, like, you assemble a 3-card combo, like, isn't very good. Like, when you assemble 3-card combos in Modern, your opponent should die. Squishy! 16 years? I think you mean 16 months. But anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you, and welcome. I do appreciate it. There's one thing worth noting here. I'm not just hammering my champion power to get a verdict here willy-nilly, especially because I have these Twilight Justices in my hand. Usually you want to wait until your opponent has some more choices, like has troops in play that they might not want to sacrifice or get -1, -1, -2. Man, can you imagine if I'd been streaming Twitch for 16 years? That's such a long time. My children would be old and grown. And probably thoroughly embarrassed at what their father does. Thinking of Nightfall, I'd like to draw a card. So, Twilight Justice here. It deploys, does a verdict, and we get to choose the outcome of the verdict. So now, instead of my opponent getting the choices for the verdicts, we get presented with 2 choices, and then our opponent just finds out what we picked. Our opponent hasn't really done much here. But again, one of the downsides of playing a control deck is we can't really punish opponents who kind of dirtle around and don't do much, right? Morning, Aaron. Okay. Valor production. Alright. Start with this, see what we get. I would love for them to just... actually, I'm just going to get a Daybreak here, but for my health total. I think discarding a random card for them is probably not very good. Mostly because they have a Valor in their hand. We'll play this out so I can Herofall whatever they play next turn. The second Twilight Justice isn't particularly good. I mean, you're usually not getting back really low health cost things from the Ashes. So we're likely going to be able to kill this with a verdict. We just need to get the -1/-1, or each opposing champion sacrifices a troop. I'll draw a card. Play this, put a non-resource on top of my deck, because I've got 6 at this point, so that's all I need. Hit this. -1/-1. It's a little confusing the wording on these. I feel like they should update the wording on the verdicts when you have Twilight Justice out, because it says each of your troops get -1/-1, but what it really means is like these verdicts are for your opponent. Great. Oh, do I not have it? Oh, I forgot to reset up my audio when I rebooted my computer. That's what it is. I just forgot to set it up. Full sentence. I'll take a Nightfall. Slowly kill them. Non-resource on top. This is why the verdict deck is kind of funny if you like to grind people out. Yeah, we'll probably play Candles at some point. It's just like, this game's over, I'm gonna kill all your stuff for forever, and like 21 turns from now, this Nightfall is going to kill you. I just don't eat things I don't like. I don't really care for the taste of meat, so I don't eat it. Oh, that changes my stuff around. There we go. Forgot I had those hotkeyed. Can I change this? Is this gonna get unhappy if I change this? No. All right. I think I fixed it so I can put the hex audio up. Maybe. Check 1, 2. Look at that. You should have hex audio now. Do I just like play this? Alright, yeah, I guess, let's just pass. Hey, 11 months later. Just think, by the time this match is over, I'll have a Sapphire icon. Bobby. I hit Cosmic last night. Time to grind top support. Nice, Z. New sounds. Yep. Thank you for pointing that out, by the way. I didn't notice. I don't have my headphones on, so I don't notice what's playing and not playing. Is the hex audio okay next to my microphone? Music's a tad loud. Perfect. Down a touch. Move it down a scotch. That better? Let me know if that's still too loud. Got that sweet, sweet native sound now. None of that whine noise. Full sentence. I'm playing Blood Diamond Verdict Control. I'll take a daybreak. Yeah. Yeah, opponent's never gonna kill us now. I hope this Nightfall goes the distance. I'm just not gonna play this Glory. I feel like this Nightfall's gonna run him down. Alright, put a non-resource on top. Actually, let's put a resource on top. Let's us verdict again next turn. Maybe double up on the Nightfalls. I dragged the audio down to the hex again. Even some minus dBs. These are my constants. There are many like them, but these ones are mine. Alright, what's in my opponent's hand? It's probably just a bunch of removal, right? Which one of the advantages of playing a deck like I'm playing is that we really don't have troops in our main deck. Like, Eldurathan's Glory is the only troop we have, and this guy voids a bunch of stuff when it comes to play. So this is like this is like a mass sweeper that just like happens to be tied to a troop. We're not necessarily winning the game with troops. I'm not down on time. I'm up 30 seconds. Up 30 seconds. That's the 24 there. Sure. Found to use this Eldurathan's Glory. Yeah, we're playing a control deck. From the Ashes destroys all the troops and then takes one of them back for us. Cheap Shot kills things. Casualty of War kills things. Herofall. We've got 4 pieces of removal and 3 sweepers in my hand. I enjoy Hex in terms of quality gameplay a lot more than I've enjoyed Magic in recent years. Magic, it just seems... Well, my opponent's not really doing anything. It's kind of like, imagine if you're playing a control deck in Magic and your opponent just like literally isn't playing any cards. Like I just said, like my hand is actually just like 3 sweepers and 4 pieces of spot removal. So like this Nightfall card, this is a slow grindy control deck. So this Nightfall card nicks my opponent for 1 every turn and these gain me 1 every turn. So basically these are the base way how we're winning the game. So Eldurathan's Glory is going to come into play as a 5/5 and void both of their Dorkos. I'm going to go ahead and hit this. So let's be Verdict. So what Verdict normally does is it presents my opponent with 2 different choices, but because I have Twilight Justice in play, I get to pick between the 2 different choices. So I add another Nightfall to the board here that's going to kill him. Whoa, 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 whoa. You don't think I'm going to attack with my 5/5, do you? From a complexity standpoint, Hex is a touch more complex than Magic Standard format on average. It's probably a touch less complex than, say, Legacy because of how many cards are in the Legacy card pool, but eventually Hex will catch up in that aspect as well. Look, they brought my Eldurathan's Glory to Justice. There's nothing I could do. It's 9 turn Nightfall clock. Let's go. Take a cheap shot here at my opponent's Baby Yeti. Give it -1/-1. And again, we said my opponent likely has a bunch of removal in their hand, and as soon as we played out a troop here, they had a piece of removal for it. Snagged a Death Seeker off of that. Alright. So, in addition to giving my opponent's troop -1/-1, this conscripts an Underworld troop, which generates a random Underworld troop with cost 1 for me. So, good, clean value card. You don't always get something that's very good with it, but remember, it's just like a kind of an added bonus effect. It's not the reason why you're playing the card. You're playing it to kill 1/1s. And then if you happen to get, like, you know, a random 2/1 that can clock your opponent, that's great as well. The API is still not working on my unsupported Linux client, so... Again, for those of you that are newer to Hex, Hex is a client-side API that can register events on your side of the computer, your side of Hex, with a thing that can like I have a tool that like puts a deck list up on the screen for me automatically. But Hex recently started testing a native Linux client for their thing, because I play do all of my gaming and my work from a Linux computer, and the API is not currently working on the testing client that is not officially supported just yet. So Wood says he's going to look into it for me at some point, but we'll see. Not a super high priority. I've got important things to do. How's the resource system? We are not playing the card that makes Ancient Verdicts. This is basically Burgle's list. We do have a full house. We've got Herofalls over Ashes. Heroes over Ashes, yep. So the resource system in Hex is one of the things that's like a huge improvement over the resource system in Magic. So how the resource system works is every time you play a resource, generally speaking, there's exceptions to every rule. Generally speaking, a resource does two things, at least two things. It adds 1 to your total available permanent resources, and these are what replenish every turn. So I've played 10 total resources this game. And then it gives you a threshold, which is a color based on the resource that you played. And some resources are dual resources, so that you pick between 2 different colors. And then, like, this Herofall card here says, hey, you have to have played 3 resources in order to play this card, and you have to have played two purple or 2 blood resources. From the Ashes, a very threshold intensive card. There aren't many that have 4 thresholds. This says, hey, this costs 6 resources to play, and it requires you've played 2 purple and 2 white, or 2 blood and 2 diamond. Just 5 more turns here till we grind our opponent into the ground with our Nightfalls. I see why Burgle likes this deck. Grinding people out with Nightfalls is sweet. We just killed our things while they died to incidental Nightfalls. One of the other things, yeah, Nick mentioned charges. So my champion here, you can see for 3, it says 3 verdict, which means 3 charges. And most resources give you a charge when you play them as well, which is nice when games go long, because it kind of gives you something to do in terms of your champion power with the extra resources that you're drawing. So, like, I actually stacked a resource on top of my deck last turn with a Fate Weave, because I knew playing it would guarantee me a verdict here with my champion power. Hopefully get another Nightfall on this game a turn or 2 sooner. I would like a Nightfall opponent. We get discard, or I draw. Alright, draw. Journey to Nightmare. So Journey to Nightmare is a 5-cost concept that says, at the start of my turn, I draw the top card of their deck, and then it becomes blood. Opponent's seen enough. So the resources, once you play them from your hand, they just kind of disappear. I'll put this Massacre into my deck. I'm gonna trim these Casualties of War. Probably bring in an extra Cheap Shot. Cheap Shot Massacre. Good. Our deck full of, like, kill all of your things is probably pretty good against my opponent's, like, mid-range troop deck to begin with. This is the type of deck that, like, these control decks really prey on. They're not quite aggressive enough to get underneath our pieces of removal and our sweepers, and they can't go over the top of what we're doing either. Morning, Orito. So again, Hex's free-to-play ladder is best 2 out of 3, which it's especially good if you're someone that likes to play control decks, right? Because a lot of the times you're not playing against decks that are good matchups for you, so you're gonna need to, like, pivot your deck a little bit post-board, either scale it up or scale it down, so you can match what your opponent's doing a little bit better. It's a mid-range troop deck, Jin. That's what they're playing. Declan! You see the camera? You want a different show? You poop. Nope. You're clean. The candles deck on my site is actually a rock deck, so... Come on, pick. I mean, I've played against several PS4... Yeah, this goes. I've played against several PS4 players that are in Cosmic this season. So, like, you get down paired into players on PC sometimes that are in the lower ranks with more budget non-tiered decks as well. Nothing. The platform that you are playing, in fact, as Hex continues to grow, the platform that you're playing on will likely become mostly meaningless. You know, especially once we, you know, Jones said when they do add tablets later next year, or this year, or whenever that's coming, who knows, that those accounts will be shared with the desktop, so... Sweet, we got Zeddek's Judgment. I think this is one of the best verdict cards in the set, like 10 out of 10 hands down. It verdicts twice, and then it draws a card, and then it puts itself randomly in the top half of our deck and makes itself cost 0. So basically it replaces itself and does 2 verdicts, so you're probably getting like 2 cards worth of value out of this. Nice, Tomb King. That was an Android innovation. So opponent's got a troop on 1 here. It's a little scary. Apply some pressure. Our hand's a little clunky. I think I'm just gonna stack. Grab non-resources for now. This next one can grab me a resource if we don't draw it naturally. I mean, on PC you can jump right onto the ladder with bad decks too. That's not something that's exclusive to the PS4. Yeah, Hex has 3 limited formats. Traditional draft, where you draft 8 players in a pod and then you play your matches asynchronously against people within or outside of your pod. And then there's a 6-pack sealed deck format. Then they have what's called an evolving sealed format, where you start with 2 packs and some extra commons, and then you add extra packs as you get wins with the deck. I did cut the casualties. And the limited in Hex, you keep the cards that you draft during the limited. So if there's, chase rares that are worth money, it's a little bit easier to go infinite while drafting, because if you're being conscious of what the dollar price of some of the more valuable cards. This is quick, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass with the cruel sentence so I can play this on this turn. This verdicts and then draws a card and I lose a health. So you'll notice here in this game, my opponent, last game, we were getting all the verdict choices. This game, we're not going to see the choices until we have that. I'm blanking on the card's name, so I get a Daybreak here. Sweet. So my opponent chooses which of the 2 things happens with verdict until I have that Twilight Judgment out. Nice, Orito. Yeah, the Budget Candles deck is, like, genuinely good. I was really surprised at the win rate it had on the ladder when I looked. Daybreak. So how verdict works is there's a pool of 10 choices, 5 good choices and 5 bad choices. And Hex tries to intelligently choose 1 from the good pool and 1 from the bad pool based on the current game state. So basically, like, it won't give my opponent the option to sacrifice a troop if they, for instance, don't have a troop in play to sacrifice. It won't give them the option to discard a card if they don't have hands in their cards in their hand to discard. Go ahead and cheap shot this Dorka, which gives me a 1-cost conscript. And I already have my next 3 resources lined up here, so I can just go ahead and Fate Weave a non-resource to the top of my deck here. Next turn, we can play out this Journey into Nightmare. This card's so sweet in this deck, too. It's just like the ultimate control, like, spit on you card. Just like, alright, I'm gonna take your cards and I'll beat you to death with them. Alright, let's hit this first. Almost do another verdict anyways. So, let my opponent make some choices. Some of these make my troops bigger. Phantom, sure. Yeah, I agree, Plot. I'm happy that the Candles deck is really competitive for how cheap it is. It's been a season or 2 since we've had a deck that was that cheap that was also that competitive. I think the last time Yodel Burn was tier 1 was probably... I guess the Bombus decks were okay for a little while. Yodel, I think, still remains to this day my favorite aggressive. Slaying some nerds with Jeff, Big Z Wine, with the 3-month resubscription. Thank you, and welcome back. A quarter of a year. I appreciate re-upping the support. I think Yodel Burn remains to this day my favorite aggressive deck I've ever played in any TCG ever. Just like the sequencing decisions that the deck had to make. It was a really, really fun math problem for me. Just the minimizing and maximizing that you got to do. So, looks like my opponent's missing their Ruby thresholds this time around. They had Ruby cards last game. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of decks that are fine. The counter next to health tools. So these are champion charges towards using your ability. So every champion has a different ability that they get to use with they get to use for these charges. So my champion, for instance, for 3 charges, I get to generate that verdict effect. My opponent's ability generates some valor power-ups for them. So the champion is useful too because you can kind of give you information on like what cards your opponent's likely to be playing. Like for instance, I could look at my opponent's champion and go, oh, their champion cares about Ardent Troops, so they're probably playing Ardent Troops. Ardent Troops are usually aggressive, so they're likely a more aggressive deck. And through the use of things like the Fate Weave mechanic and, you know, proper deck building, you can minimize and maximize the things like Threshold Screw. One of the things that's really nice about Hex's resource system is that it kind of minimizes the impact of Threshold Screw when you're missing a color, because, like, say for instance in Magic, you've got a hand with 4 blue cards in it, and you haven't drawn a blue resource yet. When you finally draw that blue resource in Magic, you're only going to be able to play out 1 card from your hand every single turn using that island that you drew. In Hex, the way the threshold system works, as soon as you draw a single threshold for the threshold you're missing, you could suddenly play out all of your single threshold cards using the resources you have from your other colors. And while Threshold Screw does generate, you know, some non-games where like one player doesn't have a ton of decisions, from a deck building and format diversity standpoint, I really appreciate having colors inside of the game. I think it's a thing that allows the formats to have a little bit more push diversity as opposed to like the kind of artificial diversity you get in a game like Hearthstone where they force you to play different cards based on your class type that you're playing. So the Hex resource system kind of is a good mix of this still allows us to do the kind of interesting thing you can do with by having colors of deck, like still have those deck building requirements and things that you would want to be doing while still minimizing some of the frustration that you have from it when occasionally things like that happen. It looks like my opponent has chosen to disconnect. Don't be salty. Hopefully they're just having a connection this year. This isn't a salt off leave. Yeah, Hearthstone it just couldn't really hold my attention. The gameplay didn't quite have the same depth that Magic and other card games that are a little bit more complicated have. It felt like this wasn't a game I was intended to sit down and like play for 2 hours. It was like a game that was intended for me to like sit down and play while I poop. Annoy. How does your deck win? It annoys my opponent until they concede. It annoys. That's every control deck's true win condition, right? Well, what happened? Well, I was at 30 and they were at 20, and then they conceded because they didn't want to play anymore. This is our actual win condition. Nightfall, at the start of your turn, deal 1 damage to the opponent. We killed our opponent with these last game. Just every turn. Poke. 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 Actually, I think Huntsman is a pretty good card. I don't really like it in this particular shell because, again, I think one of the strengths that this deck has is the fact that it's playing very minimal troops. So like when you play against opponents that like have cards in their deck game one, you're like getting those freer percentage points in the first game where like your opponent's gonna like draw their pieces of removal and they're not gonna have an impact on the game because you just like don't have targets for the removal to hit. Eldurathan's Glory and the conscripts from Cheap Shot are the only troops we really have in our main deck. You cannot multi-queue in Hex. Hex is one thing at a time. So opponent is another minute and a half here to finish timing out. Yeah, I think multi-queuing generates some negative. I agree with that. Multi-queuing generates negative play experience. It would be nice if during a tournament you could do some other things inside of the client, like auction house and like managing your collection and stuff. But I don't think double queuing is something that I would really like to exist in Hex in general. It would just make opponents. Let me rephrase. I wouldn't like double queuing to exist in Hex without Hex significantly reducing the clocks that people are allowed to have. Like, yeah, some kind of PvE queue that you could pause and come back to would be fine. Kind of an anticlimactic first match here. Hopefully get a little bit more interesting second one. And just gobbled up their pile of ruby diamond cards. So again, even though the ladder is free to play on, the rankings at the end do matter, so I'm not just going to concede for the sake of time. So, the end of every season, which are 2-month ladder seasons, the top 64 players on the constructed and limited ladder get an invite to a $5,000 cash tournament that's only those 128 players in it. So, always want to make sure I qualify for those. I'm not sure what you mean by mentor-esque. That was weird. Alright. And yeah, but I don't understand what you mean. How would that be different than a normal candles decks? It's an appropriate idea for someone that faces verdict and gives up, right? Match pop real quick. What we got this time around? Another cosmic opponent. Sargon Vito. So playing Haraza, who summons the Burning Banner, so 7 charges. Gets that banner that gives all of their troops +1 attack and speed. Oh, come on. Seriously? Come on, Sargon. I just want to play some Hex. I just want to play some Hex. I mean, I guess I'll take some free ladder padding. It gives us the ability to play worse decks later. Yeah, from the purposes of making educated mulliganing decisions, it's especially good for control decks, right? Like, it tells... And like this tells me that my opponent's likely playing an aggressive deck, so I'm going to want to keep a hand that has cards that are able to be interactive. Yeah, right, Jin? Got this? That goes? Oh, look at that. We got him. Alright, sweet. Welcome back, Sargon. God's bless. Can I keep this hand on the draw? This hand, again, this hand might be like, it's like a reasonable resources and non-resources hand, but like, if my opponent is playing a more aggressive deck, I don't have any cheap spot removal in it. Hopefully, between these two, I'll be able to cycle into it. It's very probable I should take a redraw here. Blood Ruby sockets, interesting. Then Underworld Crusader deck? Interesting. They have Shard Speedy Crusader. Actually made a lot of trouble. Oh, that's a slow shard. Oh, they don't even need a shard, right? They just have Sentry. Deathseeker to me says they probably are a Crusader deck. Sweet, we got a Phantom. Trade that with the Deathseeker if they want. Tap that. Heal. This, plays that X Judgment. And again, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to wait on this one because I want to be resource efficient this turn, but I'm going to wait on my Champion Power Verdict because I have this Twilight Justice in my hand that I'm going to get to play out next turn. Phantom back to my hand, sure. I think there just aren't relevant assault cards right now. That might be fair. So, Animus of Nulzan gives them charges, and then which bumps them up into their Burning Banner here. So, hopefully we hit some reasonable outcomes on these verdicts. Opponent could potentially kill us pretty quickly here. I'm gonna take 2 power off of there, guys. Hit this. I'm still 2 turns away from the ashes here. Yeah, like I said, we probably should have mulliganed this hand in this matchup, just because, like, knowing that my opponent's playing something more aggressive. Yeah, it's like these Animuses are coming down and just like gonna bring a lot of hurt with them. Morning Wade. Don't hit a piece of spot removal here, we're gonna be in a lot of trouble. It's another shard. Oh, if this could jump block for a turn, I guess we could survive to this from the ashes. Scion, I believe, Innate of Wax would be my first cut. Yep. That's just lethal, right? I'm just gonna fucking time you out. Fuck out of here. There's no reason for you to sit there and repeat to me the thing I already said. Go away. I think I like speed on the Stalking Quarry. Just like randomly kill them. Is Diamond's Favor good enough in this matchup? It might be, right? Like, it could take out some of their larger threats, and then it also can kill their banner. Maybe trim a Journey into Nightmare, and is Glory just not good enough? Glory's kind of mediocre, right? Let's do that. That's fine. Oh, the cheap shot's very good. Let's see how it goes. I think From the Ashes is fine. I think, like, take that game for instance. If I have a single piece of spot removal on turns 1 through 5, like, From the Ashes, like, comes down on 6 and, like, locks the game up. He is a little ghost, you're not wrong. Alrighty. Don't have a third resource just yet. JK, LOL. This cruel sentence. We'll get to go sentence into Zeddek's judgment. Sure. Take my Phantom, yep. This, play Judgment, Morning Coach. And again, I'm gonna hold on to my Champion Power Verdict for now. 2/2 Phantom means that I'm gonna get to trade with their Blamsmith, which is nice. 5th resource means we're going to guaranteed play this on 5. Thanks, Coach. Welcome back. I appreciate it. Where's Declan? Has anyone seen Declan anywhere? I haven't. Declan! Declan! Oh no! Oh no, Declan! Declan, where'd you go? Oh! Oh, there he is! There he is! Snap off this block here. So the verdict keyword is a Punisher mechanic, and what it does is it gives the opponent 2 choices, basically. It says, hey, here's a positive effect for your opponent, here's a negative effect for you, and they pick between them. And Hex intelligently selects which of the things from the good pool and the bad pool it's going to present to your opponent based on the current situation of the game. So, like, for instance, it's not going to offer my opponent the option to sacrifice a troop if they don't have troops in play. Oh, that's a tilt. Northern Engage lets them look at my hand and take one of my cards, so the turn before we get to play Journey into Nightmare, we're going to lose it. Maybe I should have boarded in... That's fine, I didn't like those cards anyways, opponent. Maybe I should have boarded in the 4th Journey over the last Eldurathan's Glory that I left in. That's very possible. That should have been something I did. So, it's not quite Thoughtseize. You'll notice here, it's more similar to Duress because it only takes non-resource, non-troops. But instead of putting this into my discard pile, the card my opponent takes actually goes into my opponent's deck. So, Animus into a Burning Banner here. Thankfully, we drew this Massacre to clean this up next turn. This. Love a Nightfall. Thank you, opponent. Put my clock on the table. Put my clock on the table. I have no idea. There's the schedule of Hex events on. This is Swift Strike. Questionnaire is a weird card, especially when they don't have a major jeb at it. Let's see what we get. So, Stalking Quarry is kind of a hoser card. It comes into play, and as it enters, it voids every other socketed card my opponent has. So, and then it gets plus power for every one that it voids. So he's gonna come in, void my opponent's socketed troop, and then start beating down because I put the speed customization in him. MC, yep. It's double damage. That's scary. So we're taking 6 off of that. Unless you're expecting a lot of the mirror, you don't need a second World Breaker. Alright, I think I just have to From the Ashes this MC away here. Probably Glab. None of these really matter for me, right? I don't have the... So, I don't get the Swift Strike bonus on this because it requires a Ruby Threshold for that bonus to happen. So, non-resource atop my deck. Just gotta stay alive for 4 turns here while these Nightfalls whittle my opponent down. You're very loud, Declan. And... That's sweet. Would you like to die, opponent? Give me a random troop from my discard pile back. Boop. I only have 1 quarry in my deck, Immortal. You want to put the extra journey in over this Eldurathan's Glory, I think. Is that true? I might be a liar. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I want journey. I want ways to kill them. From the Ashes is very, very powerful. There's a reason why this is a sweeper that costs 6. Just like, blow everything up, grab one of the troops from their discard pile and put it into play under your control. Like, super strong. Yeah, Nightfall is just a constant, so there's cards that say destroy target constant or destroy target card in general. So think of constants as like enchantments from Magic. Yeah, sounds fine. It's got a guidance to guarantee our 3rd resource. It's got Casualty of War into Massacre into From the Ashes. You're playing some Deathcry deck. Maybe I've got like a long list of things that I want to play through. I need to make some time to stream extra and get through all of these ideas that I want to play on. That card is really hard for us to beat. The Altar of Nulzan, once per turn when you play a socketed card, draw a card. So basically all of these socketed cards that my opponent keeps playing out, they're going to cantrip themselves now, which is just like card advantage that's really difficult for control decks to keep up with. I think Zeddek's Judgment is 10 out of 10 the best verdict card. I don't know exactly how I feel about it, but it's definitely reasonable. It does a lot for a little, basically. Terminator, sure. So I think I'm actually just going to Cruel Sentence here. Get a Daybreak, sweet. I think rather than... I guess I could just, now that I did this, I could just Zeddek's Judgment. I might take a hit next turn if they have an Animus, but... yeah, let's just do this. Hopefully we'll hit a Phantom. I might hit my Champion Power too if I don't have a Phantom here. Yeah, opponent is playing a Sockets-themed deck, essentially. So they get 2 verdict choices, and then I draw a card. Man, am I binning this From the Ashes? I'm binning this From the Ashes. Yeah, there's cards that, the Sapphire Shard has cards that interrupt the opponent's cards. This Crusader's kind of scary. Another Altar, gross. I guess the upside here is I get to Massacre and put this to a 1/1. Yeah, actually, we're gonna play a Diamond Sapphire control deck later today that won the Hex 1K this past weekend. So every single Saturday, Hex has a $1,000 cash tournament that's open entry, has a $7 entry fee, and is standard constructed. And this past weekend was actually a Sapphire Diamond Control mirror in the finals. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hit this, because if I hit, again, a Phantom, I wouldn't mind having to chump block with potentially next turn. Daybreak, sure. And even Daybreak's fine here, get to buffer my health total a little bit. This Underworld Crusader, when it dies, my opponent gets to draw 2 cards and lose 2 health, which is really powerful. So probably just gonna leave this around as a 1/1 to nug us every turn, especially since we have these Daybreaks in play. Would it not have any socketed cards? It would be so good for us. Like, have a bunch of Withering Gazes over there. Rust Bucket Distractor. Okay, they have They have Underworld cards, got it. Twilight Justice, that sounds great. That. Draw a card. Journey to Nightmare. I'm gonna do this and put a resource on top of my deck, guaranteed here. Pass the turn. It's possible I'm supposed to have held up a piece of removal there. And so we're gonna get to draw a bunch of cards this turn. Wow, that's good. Alright, so we're taking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here, down to 10. We're gonna go back up to 12 here. I think I'm gonna have to, unfortunately, pull the trigger on this and let my opponent draw a card here. Draw 2 cards. They're drawing a bunch of cards anyways, I guess. Maybe, Burgle. You think I'm supposed to bid a Herofall instead? Alright, well that's good. So, I got rid of one of these altars, so maybe we can grind them down. Or Casualty. Maybe. What I need to do is I need to get a turn where, and we might not have this luxury, right? Like, I need a turn where I can get, like, this journey down plus have removal up so I could, like, start generating actual card advantage. I feel like with 2 altars, I'm kind of, like, screwed either way. I'm not sure it really matters. And fuck you. My favorite is when people that get upset that I banned them and then they start messaging me. Like, really, dude, it's just 2 more clicks to block you on private message, and now you'll never have a chance of getting unbanned on my channel. That's kind of hot. Am I dead? What the fuck does that do? 3 random artifacts with a combined attack of troops you control. Whoa, buddy. Whoa, buddy. We are super dead. Boom goes the dynamite. All right. Welp. We, do I want to try again? This deck does not feel good, Burgle. Does not. Don't tell me keeping From the Ashes would have changed that, because it wouldn't have. I'd have still died in a blaze. Now let's try one more. Let's give it another chance. Let's give it one more chance, and then we'll change over to the deck Allie won the bash with. Something with Runic. It's like not stellar, but it's probably fine. Hopefully Cheap Shot's worth a card. There are top decks in the format right now. If I was forced to pick 3 decks in the format right now that I like as being powerful and competitive, it would be Diamond Sapphire Control, the Ruby Diamond Candles deck, and the Diamond Wild Momentum aggro deck. So yeah, what Jin said is true. The format just rotated, so we don't have 100% grasp on like what's objectively good, bad, or otherwise. But based on my experience playing the format so far, if I had to pick 3 decks, I would pick those. Man, Burgle, I just can't play control decks. I just can't play control decks. Just repeatedly getting punched in the dick by all these cards. I'm gonna kill people with an aggressive deck after this. So that card, for people that didn't see what I zoomed in there, the first time you play it, it makes me discard 1 card and it buries 3 cards off my deck. The second time my opponent plays one of them, it makes me discard 2 cards and bury 6 cards off my deck. The third time they play one, it makes me discard 3 cards. Just repeated dick punching. You have a bunch of Robogoyles in the board. I better have a bunch of Robogoyles in the board. We're gonna play the control deck that has counter spells in it after this game. This match. So I can look at my opponent and you say the word no. Stop it. Judgment of their own. Man. I get daybreaks and nightfalls and they get discard at random and draw at random. What a tilt. Have a nightfall. There you go. There you go. Everybody gets a nightfall. And you get a nightfall. And you get a nightfall. Oprah nightfalls for everyone. Hey, look. There's Zeddek's Judgment again. So again, this puts itself back into the top half of our deck and makes itself free. Hey, look. More nightfalls. Again, just gonna go ahead and hold on to my champion power for now. We could hit Twilight Judgment, and then this is more valuable later. Yeah, our champion... Well, oh, good lord. Burgle. Why, Burgle? Why? Why, Burgle? Why? I mean, it's kind of a non-boat. It makes this one specifically worse, but it makes his other escalate ones better, right? I'm just playing this out as a 5/5 to hopefully kill my opponent. Just beat him down with the glory. Oh, meow. Roll sentence. Oh no, my Twilight Justice. That's really sad. Please don't make me discard my entire hand next turn. God bless. God's bless. Zeddek's Judgment. Let's go! Let's go! Choose your fate. Choose your fate, Yugi boy. Look at all these cards in my hand. Look at all these cards. I think I'm actually gonna hold this because if my opponent casts this one, no, they've played 2 of these already, right? So that's escalated twice. They'll escalate 3 times. So no, I don't want to hold this. I discard a clean 5 cards. A non-resource on top of my deck and pass the turn here. If they cast this next turn and have another one in their hand, I'd lose 5 cards, so yeah. I assume that's what's happening here. That's why they were letting me draw cards. I assume they have another Demented Whisper in their hand. I'm just gonna get put firmly in the ground here. It'll revert that one. Your turn. Oh, good. They didn't have another one. God's bless. All right. Oh, no. Burgle, do I Justice or do I Journey into Nightmare? I feel like I'm supposed to Journey into Nightmare. I feel like I'm supposed to Journey into Nightmare. I'm gonna continue holding my champion power, just in case they don't take this Twilight Justice away and I get to play it next turn. Bounty of the Magus Mind Call, yep. Well, this is good. We're gonna have to take some of their Escalate cards here, hopefully. They can't beat Journey has been declared. I mean, I think they can bury me out, Bob. Dark Heart of Nulzan? How is that real life? Is that even real? Alright, Mind Call actually lets me go Twilight Justice and Herofall this turn, which is kind of great. Kill your thing. Good on you, opponent. Let me. Let me play both my cards this turn. Alright, I'm gonna take a Nightfall here, kill my opponent a little bit faster, hit the Verdict. Yeah, discard a random. Yeah, get out of here. God, they have Violet's correct. What are the odds they're playing Zip Zapper? Just like 100%, 120%. We did it, Burgle! Burgle, we did it! I complained a bunch and then we won anyways. It's great to be me. Can we talk about how great it is to be me? Complain until good things happen. I guess Stalking Quarry could come in. I really don't have enough cards in my board for this matchup, though, do I? If they have Zip Zapper, I probably want these Casualties of War, right? I copied your deck list, Burgle. I copied the one you linked me. I don't know, man. My second steal intel, I don't know. I just copied a list that you gave me. You tell me what to do with stuff and things. Look, Burgle, your baby just won the matchup game one, okay? I want to hear quit your complaining, okay? We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna beat the bad control deck. You could watch me while you go to the gym. Mobile data is great. I watch Twitch and Netflix at the gym all the time. It's wonderful. So this hand doesn't have any diamond in it, but I've got I'm on the draw and I get a Fate Weave here on this blood ice, so let's go. Joke's on you, opponent. I had to leave Eldurathan's Glory in my deck. Oh no, they buried my Fate Weave. They buried my Fate Weave. Oh no! I was counting on that Fate Weave for a third resource, opponent. I was counting on that Fate Weave for a resource. Because I don't have diamonds. Yeah, it's quick, dude. Of course it's quick. Hey man, that card's great. Yeah, Robogoyle! So Robogoyle here, this is an anti-mill card. When this is buried, you put it into play, and then you put 5 random cards from your discard pile back into your deck. Thanks for the 3/3, opponent. You ready to be taken to Pound Town? Ready to be taken to Pound Town, opponent? Population Robogoyle. Andrew's been working on a dredge deck in Immortal featuring Robogoyle and some other sweet cards. You gonna bury some more cards in my deck, opponent? Anger the Robogoyle clan some more. Oh no! I've made a horrible mistake. I didn't leave Herofall up. And now I'm gonna lose my Robogoyle. He was the chosen one. He was my clock. You were the chosen one, Robogoyle. So again, seeing kind of like some of the incidental power of the mill archetype here, just like was able to keep me off of 2 Fate Weaves here that would have fixed my resources to let me play these other cards. Hey. Put a non-resource on top here. And I'm gonna hold this verdict activation until what's the word I'm searching for? Until after I play this Twilight Justice out. Probably a pretty good chance this gets tagged by Interrupt. Wow, really? Okay. Alright, I'll draw a card. Beat. Hit this. Discard a random card. Strangle. Alright, sure. Mental note, don't make them discard again. Got it. Ooh, give him the old cock, not just once, but twice. This is a 4/6 for 7, then when it comes into play, it makes them discard 2 cards. And basic action, we can pay 3 and take this from our hand and put it back into our deck to make them discard 2 cards. Judgment, sure. Have a Phantom. Have a Daybreak, yep. My opponent's verdicts are much worse than ours since we get to pick ours. Demented Ascension. Holy crap. That's a thing. Okay. Yep. Well, now I'm a little sad that I gave them this Daybreak. Perfect. Sacrifice an artifact or constant. Then I'm gonna Cruel Sentence. And this Diamond Favor can make them sacrifice this constant. -1/-1. Play the thing, make you sacrifice the thing. Get rid of that one. Alright. 17 turns, so Nightfall does the business. Grind him out here. Opponent's had enough. Alright. I still don't know how I feel about that deck. I don't know how I feel about that one, Burgle.